Okay, I guess we're live. So welcome today, this evening, for a meetup in DevOps Kona. Today, it's me who's going to have the presentation, and it's going to be about the developer experience and how that can be linked to customer satisfaction. Yes, so short agenda. Yeah, we had the meet and greet here. Now we're going to have the presentation. Then, as we heard, we're going to get some pizza, and we can continue some discussions and Q&A after that. And a little bit about us, the co-organizers of DevOps Kona. It's me, Fredrik. We also have Evelina and Albert. Unfortunately, they couldn't join us today, but it's us three at least who are the ones that organize these meetups. And we have about 50 plus meetups now since 2018. You can get in touch with us either through LinkedIn. We have a group there. We also have a GitHub page. Basically contains some old presentations and old meetups that we had. But we also have quite recently also a Discord channel that you're welcome to join. So if anyone is interested in joining any of these groups, then just you can talk to me afterwards. These groups are also where we usually announce new meetups. And now, without further ado, let's continue with the presentation then. So what I would like to talk to you about today is first the concept of developer experience that we usually talk about when we talk about platform engineering. And also, I would like to show how that can be linked to satisfaction with the customer and the products that we deliver to our products, to the customers. So that, with the subtitle then, that happy developers are creating happy code. So just a short introduction about me. My name is then Fredrik van Bruggen. I started my career about 12 years ago, working with infrastructure and CI/CD, automating pipelines for development teams. And I found a real passion for that already in the beginning. But then I branched out a little bit and started working with as a developer. I've also worked as a test lead, and then I branched off a little bit again, working with more project management related roles, like Scrum Master and project lead. But in all of these roles where I sort of branched out a bit, I always found it fascinating and to work in making sure that you have a good development workflow, to making sure that we have a good way of setting up environments, and sort of to say that the developers have what they need. So when I got the chance to start working at IKEA as a DevOps engineer, I jumped at that chance. And I worked there for 3 years, and nowadays I'm working as what I would call a platform engineer. So I sort of back into my roots again, making sure that we have a good infrastructure at the companies and that developers can utilize the resources that they need to build the products. And some personal info, I'm a father of 2, and I live together with my wife and children in the heart of Skåne, in a small town. Yeah, so that's a little bit about me. Today's talk, I'm going to briefly go over just what I mean when I say customer satisfaction, and then go into the developer experience and how we can link that. And then for the 2 final parts, I would like to also show some examples how we can, as a platform engineer or a DevOps engineer, whatever we want to call it, how we can reach the developers and make sure that we have a good collaboration with them. And finally then finish off with some tips on how we can work with the platform and making sure that it fulfills the needs of the development teams as. So let's then begin with customer satisfaction, what I mean by that. So if we are a company delivering products, we usually, of course, want to have some customers, and we want them to be satisfied with the products that we deliver. So that, of course, then makes them use our products more. They might be able to subscribe to our services more, and we also be able to keep the customers that we deliver to. And what it then means is that usually when we have very satisfied customers, it means that we have been right on target when we deliver the features or the functionality. Perhaps we deliver a feature that they were expecting, or we deliver a functionality that they need and they really like. And that in turn then, as for the business, that makes us give us increased revenue and increased profits. And if we're able to be right on target and also be able to focus on the right type of functionality, then we don't spend so much time on unwanted features or unwanted functionality. So for the company, that means that we're reducing the waste. We don't need to spend unnecessary costs. So it's a sort of a feedback signal that the product teams in the company, they are delivering meaningful value, not only just working software. So as a product team, you usually then try to apply some kind of agile principles to achieve this, where we deliver value early and often. We have the customer at the center when we prioritize. So if something doesn't really help the customer, we don't put it on the top of the backlog. And we want to have some continuous quality built into the product so that we can achieve some kind of technical excellence. And to be able to do all of these things and other things that are part of the typical agile approach, there are some requirements that needs to be fulfilled. And the ways that I've always seen when working with different product teams or development teams is that we need to make sure that developers have the tools necessary to achieve these things. We also need to have a low friction in the development workflows. We can't have lots of interruptible work. We can't have too many broken builds and failures in the pipelines, etc. So we need to support a fast flow, and we need to support that experimentations can be done and iteratively work as well. And this sort of ties into what we usually call when we usually talk about the developer experience. And if we can have a great experience, then we can also enable the agile principles and having the values delivered early and often. So we can then build better products. And if we can build better products, we can also make the customers happier, and then the business wins. So that is sort of, when I talk about developer experience, that is what we want to achieve. And I want to begin this part by just making a statement and a question to you. If you can think of the last time you were working on something that you felt was very exciting, and you could do it without interruptions, without something that was breaking, without something that you didn't understand why it failed. You could deploy directly into production. Nothing happened nothing bad happened. And if you can think of that time, also, how did that make you feel? Because that feeling is something that we want the development teams to have on a weekly, at least, basis. If we can, a daily basis, but that might be difficult, of course. And looking at the typical software project, we have a bunch of different supporting roles. And it can be anything from like a project owner to a project manager. It can be like an agile coach or a scrum master. It can be some kind of tool expert that provides or configures the tools for the development team. Or it can be someone at the IT department providing the hardware that we use. And what all of these roles then have common is that they are sort of all of them providing a means for the development team to do their work, to be able to deliver the value to the customers. So that's why often we have these roles. And if we look at what the team topology says about different roles, is that they have these 4 fundamental topologies, as they call them. And we have the stream-aligned teams, which is then the development team, the ones that deliver the value to the user. And then we have the platform team, which I will mostly focus on my presentation here today. And that is then the team that enables to deliver the value fast and reliable. And then we have two other here that I will not go through as much, but we have an enabling team working more with the ways of working, and a complicated subsystem team who keep the complexity away from customers. And what the team topology also says about the platform team is that it's a grouping. It can also be one team, but sometimes it can also be a grouping of teams that provide a compelling internal platform that is within the means to deliver or accelerate the delivery to the stream-aligned team or the development team. So that's the idea behind that type of team. But developer experience is also some way of connected to psychological safety, I would say. We don't want the developers to think how much of how do I deploy, how do I use a certain tool, and how do I get the logs from production, for instance. We want them to be able to focus on only what they deliver, and that's the value. So if we can have a good developer focus, we can also then get the confidence for the teams to ship and also to improve the quality in the product. And for this, then we need the support from a platform team or something similar, because as I mentioned before, we have a lot of tools that are necessary to fulfill this, and with these tools comes a lot of knowledge. But we don't want to put that knowledge into the developers who need to focus on delivering value. So having a platform team reduces this cognitive load on the stream-aligned teams or development teams, whatever we call them. But of course, we also need to think about how the organization culture looks like. So we need to have a culture that encourages to improve and to be innovative. So in a nutshell, the platform team works more or less to reduce the friction of the development workflows that the development teams, they work to reduce the friction more or less. And if we can support that, we also then support the faster deliveries. With the faster deliveries, we can enable more experimentation. And with that, we can create happy developers, which then can provide higher quality in solutions. And that brings us then the great business value. And for that, we can also then invest more into the platforms. So this cycle here is sort of, the point I'm trying to make here, more or less, that with spending more focus or spending the focus on reducing the friction for development teams can then help us create these happy developers, which then, in the end, brings us the greater business value. So how can we then provide this support to the developers? Just as a product team works with agile principles, we as a platform team can also apply the same in building the internal platform. But instead of having users as customers, we can treat the developers as our customers. And we can create a space where we can have a continuous feedback between the development teams and ourselves. And we can also build and maintain close collaborations. So sort of the same kind of principles that we want to achieve to the customers when we are an agile product team. And what we really want to avoid is just becoming another IT support where we just get tickets and requests and questions all the time. So if we then can sort of treat our developers as customers instead, and we can also then have some kind of developer storytelling in the ways that we develop the platform. This helps us then to understand the pains and the gains of the developers. But having developers as a customer also makes the prioritization for us easier, because then we know which tools that we should configure or set up, and we also know which sort of features the platform should contain and how we should prioritize them. And it can also help us deliver on target, so that we can provide a meaningful value to development teams. It's also important to try to measure the developer experience itself. It can be really hard, but I mentioned a few things earlier, like cognitive load is something that we can measure. So if we have some kind of onboarding process or similar to the platform that we provide, we can measure that. How long does it take for developers or development teams to be onboarded? And we can also measure like the time it takes to set up a new environment engineer. This is what we want to reduce. We can look at the flow itself. We have the DORA metrics from the DevOps, the yearly report, where we look at like the lead time for changes, how often that deployments are made, and also sort of the mean time, how long it takes to restore certain services. Or we can also look at the number of support tickets. So if we have a sort of a system where the developers can create tickets, or we ourselves can create tickets from different queries, we also can see how many of these do we get, and we can categorize them, because that sort of gets us a feeling of maybe there's a lot of interrupts in the flow. And then, of course, we can try to measure the happiness, which more or less is maybe the more difficult one. But we can use some kind of NPS-style surveys or something similar, have like a 5-question questionnaire, send it out. It's like, how good do you think the pipelines are? How good do you think the deployments work, and et cetera, et cetera. So we sort of get a feeling of how many promoters do we have, how many demoters do we have of the things that we provide. And what we aim to understand is then, are the developers able to deliver their value quickly, confidently, and happily? And when it comes to collaboration, to having a close collaborations, there's different things we can also do there. We can try to create a shared space. This is something, in my current company where I work now, we have something called Tech Forum. It's like a weekly meeting where anyone can come and pose different solutions to a problem that has been discussed, or lift a specific problem. And it's a really good way to bounce off ideas, and also having fast feedback on things that you want to solve. So having these spaces, I found, I've been in other companies where you have something similar, and I always felt them to be really handy. We can also ask to be included in meetings. Usually a stand-up is where everyone is welcome, so we can just attend that and listen in to what is said. If the development teams have retrospectives, we can also ask to be taking part of that at some point, and see if they can bring up some points regarding how they use the platform, or how they feel that the development workflow works. If we have the opportunities like that I have today, I sit right next to the developer, so I can just listen to what they say, and sometimes I can hear that they're discussing a certain problem that I know that I can help them with, and so things. So that is also a good thing if we have that opportunity. It's not always if we have that. And we can just grab a coffee with someone. Having like a 5-minute, 10-minute casual talk can sometimes be as efficient as having 1-hour meetings. At least that's what I have felt. Because if we want to have this close collaboration, because we also want the developers to adopt the platform that we provide to them. And if we feel that the adoption is low, it's not really on them, it's on us. It's us problem to solve. But of course, we also have the platform itself that we work with and that we provide. So for the final part here of the talk, I would like to go in a little bit what we mean with an internal development platform, and also on some things that I think is good to have as part of it. So when I talk about an internal development platform, or IDP as it sometimes is abbreviated as, I would say it's mostly like a combination of all the tools that the development team uses to maybe test the software, to build the software, to automate different steps in the development process. So it's like a unified, hopefully also a self-service foundation of the software delivery. And the purpose of it is to abstract the infrastructure complexity as much as possible, so that using the tools is as easy as possible, and also so that we reduce the cognitive load. So we don't want every developer to know Kubernetes or Docker or anything else. I mean, they can if they want, but it should not be necessary, because then you will spend too much time in trying to understand. You take away what the development team should focus on, and that is the delivering of the value, as we have talked about earlier. And IDP is also a way to provide a standardization on tools and some kind of paid paths on using these tools. And in the end, it is a product that we are delivering. It's an internal product instead, where the developers are our customers. So, right. So, and as I mentioned before, just as we can apply the agile principles to how we work as a platform team, we can also apply the same thing to the platform as a product. So if you view it as a product, we can then also have our own backlog. We can make sure that we prioritize it the same way, and also we can that was it. Some two areas that I think is that we can make sure that we focus on for the internal platform is, first and foremost, to try to abstract layers as much as possible. And by how we can do that is that we can make sure that we create templates for things like pipelines, templates for how to make a deployment, templates for setting up an environment, and then a development team can then just use these templates, and they don't need to sort of reinvent the wheel all the time, and they don't need to maybe also fully understand the complexities in doing certain things as part of the pipeline. They can just use a template, maybe a template just called the deployment template or the release template or something. But of course, it also means that we need to have a good documentation. It needs to be good. It needs to be well understood and easy to read. And a bonus if it can be searchable as well. Just recently, we have tried to experiment where I work and also trying to make an AI read the documentation, and then you can just ask the AI, like, how do I do this? And then you get an immediate response. That can also, of course, make it even more better, because sometimes people don't read documentation. So having just a way to ask a question to an AI, you will get an immediate response. That at least could be very beneficial. We shouldn't be afraid as a platform engineer to provide web services, because I mean a web service is more or less a very simple way of creating an interface to do something. So again, in my current company, we have different web services to be able to run certain pipelines or to run certain parts of the, or make a release, for instance. And I mean, yes, of course, you can do that just writing something in a terminal or running a certain script or something. Yeah, exactly. They shouldn't need to be the Kubernetes or networking experts to deliver the value, exactly, yeah. Yes, and the second thing, I also think it's a good feature to have, is to be able to provide on-demand resources. So that, for instance, if we have self-service environments, they should be really like plug and play, easy to use, and also a way to have an isolated environment, so that anyone who wants to test something in a production-like environment can set this up. They know that it's isolated. They won't break anything. They can do anything what they want there. And then when they're done with it, it just closes down. And another thing I think it's good is also to have, what I've seen is to have some kind of automatic scaling based on the workload needs. So if we have a limited of resources, for instance, we can at least make sure that when they're not used or when we have low usage, we can try to maximize the utilization as soon as something is needed, and we can also try to minimize idle and wait time to if we can scale up automatically. Because what we want is that we don't want like a pull request pipeline to take like 20 minutes. If we for some reason can scale up the resources and make sure that we can go down to like 5 minutes or 2 minutes or whatever, then that is a big win for the development teams. Yeah, so try to give them what they need, when they need it, without them even asking. So yeah, the final thoughts on this. Treat your developers as your customers, and view the internal development platform as your product, and try to adapt as many of the agile principles as you can. I mean, they have been existing for a long time. Using the platform, we should always try to make sure that using the platform is as simple as possible. We shouldn't be afraid if we introduce complexity. As soon as the using of it is very simple, we just abstract it away. And provide resources as on demand if we can. And yeah, if we can make the developers happy, we can also make sure that that they themselves create better products, and that will then lead us to satisfied customers. Thank you. Let's see, I think we have a mic here.